Okay, so welcome back to the channel, everybody. I hope you are all keeping well. My name's Cal. I'm a practicing lawyer for over 10 years, both in the UK and in the US. And today I'm going to teach you all the basic essentials you need to know about your pension. Okay, so in this video, we are going to look at the different types of pension, their basic function, such as how they grow, how they are taxed, how much to pay into them, and how to get as much as possible out of your pension when you retire. I'm going to do all that in just under 10 minutes, so grab yourself a drink, grab yourself a pen, and let's get to work. So we all get told that pensions are really, really important, don't we? But why? Why are they important? Well, pensions don't get explained to us. We don't get taught about them at school, and yet it is vital to know how they work. But why are they important? Well, for most of us, they are the best way to build wealth for the future, and I mean the best. If you don't understand pensions, you might be missing out on incredible, incredible benefits that they provide for building wealth for you and your family. So let's quickly explain the most common types of pensions first. You have your workplace pensions and you have your personal pensions. One is provided by your employer and one you take out for yourself. But more importantly to understand is that there are two main types of pension scheme. Guys, you've got to get your head around this. First, you have defined benefit pensions, which come with the benefit of a promise of a guaranteed income. In this case, when you retire, the benefit becomes known or defined. As for the amount, however, of your future income, that will depend on your lifetime earnings and the length of time you're with your employer and a few other calculations. Now, people who are most likely to be part of these direct benefit schemes will be those working in the public sector, such as teachers, NHS staff, police, armed forces, etc. But this is not just public sector employees. You may receive a direct benefit pension if you worked for a big company for a very, very long time. These are the gold standard of pensions. And there are not many of these around anymore. They are very, very valuable and very hard to get. Okay, and over here you have defined contribution or DC pensions, which most of us fall into, which build a pot of money by investing your salary over the years until you retire. Now, the difference here to direct benefit is that you don't know what you're going to get out at the end of it. So the benefit is unknown. You do know the amount you're contributing, so you've got direct contribution. The amount of contribution is defined in your salary as you go along. But unlike direct benefit, there is no guaranteed income at the end. You'll only know how much you've built when you get there. And that depends on how your investments perform within your pension fund. Okay, so to summarize for you guys, define benefit, guaranteed income, define contribution, build a pension pot. Pretty much every pension will fall under one of these two categories, but not everyone is employed in their lives, are they? Not everyone is an employee. For some of us, we work for ourselves or we have our own businesses, and we'll get to self-employed pensions later. But in the meantime, we're going to compare workplace pensions to self-employed pensions. So workplace pensions then, what are they? In the UK today, employers are legally required to offer a pension scheme to their employees. These are, as I mentioned before, defined contribution schemes. It's your salary, so you know the amount that you're contributing. If you meet a certain criteria, okay, you'll be automatically enrolled in this. But now, if you're self-employed, you can have a personal pension. Now, personal pensions are also always direct contribution pensions. You're in full control, deciding exactly how much to contribute and how it's invested. There are different types like the stakeholder pension, the SIPP, which is a common one, the self-invested personal pension. A lot of self-employed people have these, and the private pension. But for now, the key thing to remember is that they all work on the same basic principle of direct contribution. Now let's talk a little bit about why pensions are important. So let's go through the benefits. Pensions have massive benefits. Let's talk about the first out of our three major benefits, free money. Yes, it sounds too good to be true, I know that, but this is one of the biggest benefits of using a pension, okay? It comes from the form of tax relief. Here's how it works. When you pay into a pension, you do so before your income is taxed. That means if you contribute £100 from your salary into your pension, the full £100 goes in, but if you didn't and you just took that £100 as pay, you'd get taxed on it, wouldn't you? So you get taxed 20% as a basic rate taxpayer, and you'd only have £80 left. But put it into your pension, you get £100. Now, if you're not in a workplace pension, maybe you're self-employed and you're saving into your own personal plan, the maths is still the same for you, but it actually feels even better, right? Because if you're self-employed, you pay £80 into your pension, not 100, and then the pension company requests that tax, that £20 from the government, and then it gets added in. So the pension provider will claim the tax from the government and add it directly into your pension for you. If you're a higher rate taxpayer, a 40% rate taxpayer, you can claim even more money relief through tax. So potentially it could only cost you £60 to put £100 into your pension pot. And if you do this every month, the cumulative value of this, that tax relief every month will add up to massive amounts of money. 20% or even 40% of your monthly contribution in free money, which otherwise you would have just paid the government in tax. But that's not it, guys. Now, the second major benefit is, of course, employer contributions. This one is absolutely the big one. So if you're in a workplace scheme, as we discussed before, a direct contribution scheme, your employer will usually match your pension contributions up to a certain level. So if you, let's say, contribute £100, which might only cost you £80, remember, according to the tax relief we discussed earlier, your employer might throw in another £100 or £60. That's £200 in your pension from just an £80 contribution for your own money, right? With the two benefits combined, that's £200 from £80. This is one of the best ways to grow your retirement savings. It's like getting a pay rise, and people aren't clocking that and missing out on massive free money. Literally, nowhere else will you get this kind of growth on your money overnight, guys. It is ridiculously cool. We don't shout about it from the rooftops like we should. However, guys, I must warn you so that you're aware, there is a catch. You will pay tax when you eventually get to retirement age and withdraw your pension. But until then, your pension grows tax-free. That means any investment growth from inside your pension, from any of your investments, won't be reduced by capital gains tax or dividends tax. But the government will collect income tax when you start drawing your pension later on. So is the money really free? Well, there is a quid pro quo, but still, this tax deferral can be incredibly powerful over time. And there are ways when you come to retirement age and withdraw your pension for you to do so and save as much tax as I will cover that in a future video when we discuss the secrets to massively boosting your pension pot. Okay, so I hope that makes sense now and you understand both the types of pensions that people can have and the benefits and perks of contributing into your pensions. Okay, so now I need to explain to you about pension growth. How does your pension pot grow? And for this bit, I'm going to need to bring you back to the two pension schemes we talked about before, direct benefit and direct contribution schemes, DB and DC. So depending on which one you have, let's look at how your pension pot grows in each. So let's look at the direct benefit pension scheme. So remember, with direct benefit pensions, remember you and your employer pay into the scheme, but you aren't building up a pot of money like with direct contribution pensions. Instead, each year you earn more future income via something that's called accrual. What about inflation, I hear you say? Well, the income that you've already built up in that pension will rise each year to try and keep pace with inflation, and this is called indexation. And all this happens really without you doing anything except just paying into your scheme. That's all you have to keep doing. You just have to keep working and stay in the scheme. That's how your pension pot will grow if you're in a direct benefit scheme, like if you're a public service worker, remember. Now, as for the rest of you in the direct contribution scheme, the DC pension, your contributions plus your employers and the tax relief we spoke about for, all that money goes into your personal pension pot that's invested in things like shares and bonds. Now, the size of the pot at retirement depends on, one, how much you can contribute over time, and two, how well your investments perform within your pension fund. It is your personal retirement fund, and you have so much control over how it's invested, far more than a direct benefit pension holder who has very, very little. Guys, look, I know this is potentially a really, really dry subject for some of you, and I get that, but just stick with me. You're doing really well. Okay, so now you know the types of pensions people can have, the benefits of a pension, and how the pension pots grow. So we've learned a lot already, but finally I need to talk to you about what most of you are interested in, and that is accessing your pension. So how do you eventually get your money out? Again, it differs between our two types of schemes. So with the direct benefit pension, you'll start receiving guaranteed income, like I said, at the scheme's retirement age, usually in the form of a monthly payment, a monthly income, much like a salary. And yes, as I said, you will pay income tax on that salary as you do with your normal salary. But you may have other options for that income. For example, taking your pension early with a reduced income, that's an option. Delaying it, possibly increasing those payments. Leaving your income for your spouse if you pass away. Or taking a lump sum up front, that's known as commutation, in exchange for a lower annual pension. So there are many things you can do with that retirement income from your direct benefit scheme. Now, as for your direct contribution pensions, you have far more flexibility on how to access these. So from the age of 55, rising to 58 by 2028, you can, number one, take 25% of your pot tax-free as a lump sum. I know a lot of people personally who choose this option. Number two, you can use the rest of that money to buy something called annuity, which is a guaranteed income for life. Or number three, you can choose to go into a drawdown, which is where your pot stays invested and you just withdraw amounts as needed. The drawdown option is really, really flexible, but comes with the responsibility of managing your withdrawals carefully so your pot doesn't just run out of money. So those are the different ways that you can access your pension pot in a direct contribution pension scheme. All right, so if you stuck with me this far, guys, well done. I commend you and your desire to learn something useful. Well done, guys. Pensions can feel like a really dry topic, I know, but they are one, if you've not figured this out already, from what I'm saying, they're one of the most effective ways to build serious wealth for your future. If there's one thing that I've observed is that the wealthy people that I'm surrounded with in my life have done one thing in common. They have made the most out of their pensions. But basically, folks, that's it. There is a ton more detail that I can get into, but this will be a really, really long video. You don't want that, and neither do I. But now you have a basic understanding of how pensions work. I have a series coming out. This is really important, guys. I have a series coming out in the next few weeks on the most important pension strategies for you to take advantage of. There will be videos on top tips and secrets to boost your pension that most people, I'm telling you, don't know about. The best ways to pay into your pension, and I'll bust all the common myths about pensions that could save you tens of thousands in retirement income. So subscribe, keep an eye out for those. They are coming imminently. It's been a pleasure having you guys. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you in the next video.